Podcast City Network.
This is Final Score, your number one podcast for sports news. Here are your hosts, Chris and Craig.
Hey guys, we are live for another episode of Final Score, episode 87. And you see, we're getting a little festive. I even had Christmas lights in here because, tell you what, it's been a crazy week. Tons of Christmasness. We're 2 days removed, man. It's been crazy. How are you faring right now, Craig? Oh yeah. Don't let me forget. We have Craig here.
Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you all had a great holiday. And yeah, I'm doing okay. We got a couple of cool gifts. Got some more memorabilia for the office that hopefully I can display in the coming weeks. But yeah, it's pretty good. How was your Christmas?
Oh, not too bad. I just had to dig deep down after Clemson and learned how to play like a champion today. So, it's all good. And even bought myself a little present, a nice Podcast City Network Net Gator, protect me from COVID-19. So, it's been awesome.
I'm surprised. I'm a little surprised that because of how cold it is here just outside of Orlando, Florida, that you are not wearing a specific Christmas gift that I got you this week.
Oh, yes. It is sitting over yonder. Actually, it is just out of reach, believe it or not. But it's only because my wife keeps it so toasty during the holidays. So it's either that. If I put a single extra layer on, I will be drenched in sweat in no time. So we don't need that because that becomes a whole ugly mess. But we do have an exciting episode planned for today. A lot of great stuff to talk about. But before we can even get to that, you got to make sure that you follow us on social media at PCN Final Score on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram. Go on there. Give us a like. Give us a follow. Invite your friends. Share with your friends. The whole kit and caboodle. And check out all the great stuff we have. And I know we've definitely been killing it in the meme department lately. So definitely check out the great stuff we have on there. But
I got a couple this week that are ready to go. I got a couple this week that are ready to go.
I'm not going to lie. I think our meme section this week, or our segment, is going to be probably the most amount of memes we've ever shown at one time. So, yeah, be prepared. It's going to be crazy. But before we get to any of that, we have to cover NFL Week 16 action. There's been a lot of insanity happening. And, of course, we got blessed with an awesome Christmas Day game with, Kamara just, my God, that man. And you know what stinks about it is I have him in fantasy, and I wish he would have done this last week, and I'd be in the championship. Right now, I'm just dominating for third place.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, it
well,
is.
Hey, the bright spot about it is that Alvin Kamara has done more in a 3-hour span in one day than Zeke Elliott has done all year for my fantasy team. So, it was fantastic. So if you are in the championship this week and you got Kamara, you need to send that man a thank you card or something.
Right.
You got that right
I'm
there. I think
basket.
between. Can you imagine? One of my friends was saying that I think he either in one of his leagues he's either got Kamara and Brady, or he's playing against Kamara and Brady. I don't know. I don't pay attention to fantasy football this year. I've been in the cellar all year, so I don't really care. But
Gotta get it in.
But can you imagine if you have Kamara and Brady? It's almost impossible to lose.
Yeah, it is pretty impossible to lose that kind of combination. And man, Kamara's had only one I guess you could call it a bad week for me, but dude's been killing it. But he already has 56 points for me, so we'll see what happens. But excuse me, that game as a whole was just absolutely amazing. Alvin Kamara going out tying the record with 6 touchdowns. Was asked after the game too if he felt any kind of way about Taysom Hill vulturing a touchdown. He's like, "Hey, no, we like to spread the wealth. It's okay." He's like, "It's Christmas." But
this team is fighting. This team is still fighting for that first playoff spot. I mean, they're a little bit out of it, but still, fighting for that one bye.
Oh yeah,
it's huge. It's huge this year with the added playoff team. So, I mean, yeah, of course. Kamara got paid. He doesn't care, and he just had a record-tying day. I think it's the most touchdowns scored in a game since like the 1920s. If I read that correctly.
Oh, it was 85 points. Yeah, total points. Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you actually
I'm talking about just on the field. I'm not talking about fantasy. I'm talking about 6 touchdowns in a game.
There's 85 total points in that game. You're looking at 52-33. That's a lot of points to score in one game.
Absolutely. But yeah, and with that loss too for the Minnesota Vikings, they are officially eliminated from playoff contention. So
yes.
if you are a Chicago Bears fan, you are rejoicing right now because of that game and another that has also happened this week.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And but the New Orleans Saints do clinch the NFC South, so they are division winners officially now. So definitely going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to play it going forward. I assume the Saints still want to push for that 1 seed, but I mean, we'll see what happens. But we did have some football yesterday as well. That's right, some Saturday pro football. Don't see it that often until you get to this part of the season. Started off with San Francisco 49ers and the Arizona Cardinals, and I think this one kind of shocked some people as the 49ers ended up taking it 20-12. Cardinals just not able to get it done, man. What do you think?
I think it kind of plays a little bit of two ways. We've seen a little bit of inconsistency out of Kyler Murray still this year, and so he has some of those games still, and you can't expect him to be MVP caliber yet every single week. But I really give a lot of credit to the San Francisco 49ers. Robert Saleh, that defense, they bottled up Murray. They contained DeAndre Hopkins. They did what they needed to do, and they were, I think on the broadcast I heard they were second in the league in time of possession behind Green Bay. So, I mean, for a 5-win team, now 6-win team, to be second in time of possession just goes to show how much they rely on that run. C.J. Beathard didn't do terrible. And when you have a quarterback that doesn't do terrible, you have a solid defense, and you can run the ball, that's a recipe to win games.
I mean, when Jeff Wilson Jr. Rushes it for 183 yards, that definitely helps take the pressure off your quarterback.
That's a hell of a game for him, and I think he undrafted, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And he wasn't even supposed to be on the roster over the last couple of weeks, but because of some injuries, he made the roster, and hell of a game by him. I mean, yeah, between that and being able to make certain throws when they need. I mean, Beathard did, of course, miss some pretty bad throws, but
yeah, he wasn't perfect.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you don't have a quarterback. I mean, you have a rotating door of quarterbacks there that none of them are really NFL caliber starters. So
yeah,
get what you get.
You gotta do what you gotta do, but you look at some of the other guys that were rushing the ball, especially with Jerick McKinnon and Tevin Coleman being there. Obviously, with Mostert being out now for the season, put on IR. But these guys really didn't get a lot of touches. They just kept on feeding the hot hand, and that just happened to be Jeff Wilson Jr. putting out his best performance of his career. He's only in his 3rd season, so that could be something they could actually probably ride going forward, maybe even into next year if they can't find any consistency out of Coleman or out of McKinnon in any kind of way. So, I mean, makes it a nice little rotation of running backs, but man, if San Fran wants to get anything going for next year, they gotta figure out this quarterback position. I don't think Garoppolo's the answer anymore, so I don't know. It's gonna be interesting going in the
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so either. But on a bright note for the 49ers, Kittle back on the field, even though he was on kind of a pitch count. He only had 4 catches, but he had 92 yards. Like, he was already an impact, and you could see what he can do when he's on the field. So that was a pretty big win, I guess, for the 49ers. And yeah, if they can be 100% healthy and they can actually find a quarterback that, I mean, even if Beathard, he did throw 3 touchdowns. He had some bad throws, but he was good more times than he was bad. So, I mean, you got that. You can bottle up an offense like the Cardinals, and now they don't control their own destiny anymore for the playoffs, or this is a really interesting division now because you've still got Seattle is in there. They're in the driver's seat for the division because the Rams just completely blowing it last week against the Jets.
Oh yeah, I don't even know how that happens.
Hey, just somebody called it on the show. It wasn't you, but I don't know who it was. So somebody said, "Watch out."
You killed
but
me, sir.
but no, but it was pretty promising for the 49ers to see them get a little bit more healthy. Big question after this game: if Robert Saleh wasn't already a top head coaching candidate for some teams, he kind of was last year. But if he wasn't already, with what they've been dealing with injuries and no offense and no quarterback, like that defense has still been pretty good. So I would not be surprised to see Saleh head coaching somewhere next year.
Oh yeah, definitely could see that happen. And before we jump into our next game, though, just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you guys so much for jumping in there and keeping the talking going. Got Jimmy up in there, our resident Raiders fan. And I want to give a big shout out to some of our newcomers. Brian Snow, thanks for hitting us up in the chat, giving you that shout out.
Says
how about
Snowman
those
in the
49ers?
morning.
Yeah, Snowman in the morning.
Yeah,
Snowman
in the morning.
So definitely some great stuff.
Yeah, I'd be active in the chat myself, but I'm having technical difficulties. I got three computer screens here, and none of them freaking work. I'm working off my phone here. You gotta love outdated technology. So I would be active in the chat as well, but no go today. No go today.
Sadly, no go today. But who else was no go was your own Detroit Lions when they had to play Tampa Bay yesterday. That's right, Segway King, as Tampa Bay took it 47-7, thoroughly whipping the Lions, and Tom Brady went ahead and set that quarterback franchise touchdown record. Man, I'm almost afraid to ask. Are you doing okay? Is everything all right in Craigland? You know, I know Detroit's just hurting you this year, 5-10, and now a 40-point loss, man. Like, do we need to sit down? Do we need to talk?
Unfortunately, the Lions this year are in a similar position to what the Pistons were in for a number of years after they made those finals runs. They were sitting in mediocrity where they were borderline lottery picks, but they weren't good enough to get a good player. So I think that's where the Lions are right now. They didn't lose enough to get a good player or a good draft pick. So you kind of expected. They were missing 5 coaches due to COVID.
Also true.
And not to say not to say that would be a determining factor, but when you lose 5 coaches, including your head coach and your offensive coordinator, and I think your defensive coordinator as well, like they had to pull literally, like not even position coaches, people that are not full-time staff, like we're in position coaching roles. Like that's how bad this was. And with how good the Buccaneers defense can play at times, this matchup already was a mismatch from the get-go. So I'm not terribly surprised. It sucks that we lost by 40 points. That's the story of where the Lions franchise is right now, though. Well, so I'm not. I can't even say that I'm upset, because this is like par for the course for the Lions over the last couple of years.
Well, you also lost Matt Stafford during this game. He only got 3 passes off before going out with injury. So, you know, when you look at that factor, when you factor that in as well, you know, that plays a huge role into this. And obviously, after getting behind early, they really had to try and go to the air. There was only 15 total touches for the running backs in this. DeAndre Swift only getting 10 for 45 yards. So, you know, they had to go to the passing game early. When you lose Matt Stafford, that's not going to put you in a very good position. So they turned it over to Chase Daniel. He did everything that he could. He went 13 of 18, 86 yards. Not much to speak about. David Blow gets in there, 6 of 10, 49 yards and a pick. So just not a whole lot, obviously, to be able to work with there. So, I mean, I'm not surprised it got out of hand like this, but, man, I just feel for Detroit fans right now.
The bright spot is that when DeAndre Swift did touch the ball, like he was doing some work. When he was able to actually touch the ball, he had a couple of plays. One of them especially was pretty. It was trending on Twitter. Mm-hmm. He had a cutback where he basically was starting in the middle field, went to the right hash, cut all the way back to the left hash, and made a guy miss, and then got upfield. Like, it was pretty impressive for that. But just kind of focusing on a little bit of the positive stuff here out of this game for Buccaneers fans, at least. They clinched their first playoff berth in a number of years.
Yeah,
Brady
since 2000.
Brady puts up numbers that most people need in a game. He did it in one half. 348 yards and 4 touchdowns. And as you mentioned, set the record for most passing touchdowns in the season, surpassing Jameis Winston, which I mean, if you're a Buccaneers fan, this is the stuff you hope to see coming into the season.
Yes.
You didn't want to see some of the inconsistencies, but hey, now you're 10-5. You're going to get a decent playoff spot. So now it's just going to be how, where do the matchups fall? Who are you you got one more week, and then it's playoff time.
Exactly. So we'll definitely see how it plays out. We'll see how they play, because no matter what, they're going to make it in. So they might try and maybe rest some players next week. They might try and maybe, win another game, see if it improves their positioning. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. We did have one more game yesterday, our late game, and this is one I know our resident Raiders fan is very sad about right now. And we are so sorry, Jimmy, that the Raiders could not do it. I thought they could, but they ended up falling to the Miami Dolphins 26-25 on some utter Fitz magic. I think Fitzpatrick has now mastered the no-look throw. Sure, it took a face mask for it to happen, but hey, he still did it, right? And it ended up being the play that set up for the field goal. So, I feel for Raiders fans. I really, really do. But, man, Dolphins just got it done.
Well, this was rough. I watched a good chunk of this game, and of course, I was forced to stop watching the football game in the fourth quarter when it really got good. The last 4 minutes of this game were absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, you're talking about a 16 tie, and then all of a sudden it goes. That's the last 4 minutes. You had drive touchdown, then field goal, and then field goal to win the game. Like it was nuts. It really, if you're Raiders fan, you got to be wondering what made John Gruden make the decisions he made at the end of that game, because that's really what's been under a lot of criticism right now, is the fact that Gruden made some interesting calls, especially near the end of the game, and gave the Dolphins a chance to get the ball back and make a drive. Now, you wouldn't expect a guy like Fitzpatrick to come in cold in the middle of a game and take the Dolphins down the field, to score, but that's exactly what happened, and we saw more of that. It was a credit to the Dolphins for putting themselves in position, but the Raiders should have won this game. They had it in the bag. Carr did pretty well. Aguilar and Waller. Darren Waller. If you watch this game and you saw some of the catches he made,
oh yes.
I don't know why he's not more of a discussion as a top 5 to top 3 tight end in the league. I mean, outside of Kelsey and I'm forgetting one. Oh, Kittle. Outside of Kelsey and Kittle, like Waller's up there.
Oh yeah,
Waller's one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, some of the catches he made were mind-boggling. Like they're guys that catches that tight ends are not supposed to make, and he's out there looking like a wide receiver.
Well, let's not forget, Darren Waller was drafted as a wide receiver and converted to tight end. So the guy has that kind of speed and capability, and that's what's going to make him just totally dangerous for the Raiders in the coming years, because this guy put up 5 catches for 112 yards in this game, and he's going to continue to do performances like that because he is that kind of talent. So definitely watch out for him in the future. It just didn't work out today, sadly. Derek Carr, I know, slung that thing for 336 yards, but it just wasn't enough. They couldn't get enough of the run game really going. They had 100 total team rushing yards, but Josh Jacobs only 13 touches, 69 yards. This was a game I felt that it really could have went either way. But we had some great conversation going on in the chat, and I definitely want to pose this question to you. Jimmy threw it out that the Dolphins didn't win that game. The Raiders straight lost it. Do you agree with that assessment?
Absolutely. I can't disagree with that, because the Raiders, for how well they were playing, like they had this in the bag, and then questionable decisions by Gruden. You got to wonder what's going on there, or why the decisions were made. But yeah, I think the Raiders absolutely lost it. The decisions that were made going in, and then also they couldn't contain Myles Gaskin. Like, Gaskin had he had 87 on the ground and 87 as a receiver with 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's sick.
Or 82, but still, he basically single-handedly was a problem for the Raiders defense. But what the Raiders were doing throughout the game is they were playing the way they needed to play. They were they were controlling the clock for the most part, and they just fell apart in the last couple minutes of the fourth quarter, and it's really unfortunate. But it's also like the direction this team has been going. They have been a little inconsistent, but it's a lot better than what they were.
Well, it's even crazier.
So
John Gruden came out and said he doesn't regret passing up the touchdown late and lost. So, I don't.
Why would he say that?
Yeah.
Why would he? He has to. He has to. When you're getting paid $100 million to be the head coach of the Raiders now, like, yeah, you've got to stick with your guns, your gut at that point. If all of your analytics told you to do what he did and you still lose, I mean, the odds of the Raiders giving up that late drive for the field goal, I mean, it's not probable, but it's also Fitzmagic. So
yeah, and once Fitzmagic strikes, man, you just can't escape it. So, it's just crazy. Yeah. Man, you guys are just going crazy in this chat today.
The worry that I do have, though, for the Dolphins is that this is not the first time we've seen this, but Coach Brian Flores has started Tua every week since he was named starter, but he's pulled them multiple times to put Fitzpatrick in late game scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a big vote of confidence for your future franchise quarterback in Tua if you are a Dolphins fan. Yes, you're happy with the win. Yes, you're 10-5. Nobody expected you there. But if you are the Dolphins and you want to ride or die with Tua, why are you pulling him?
Well,
why are you pulling him? Let him make
17
those. Let him make
completions for
those.
less than 100 yards. I would pull him too. He's not challenging defenses downfield.
He didn't look terrible from at least what I've seen.
No, I'm not saying he looked bad, but he's looking very mediocre, and that's not what you expect to have out of a starting quarterback.
He's a rookie
especially
quarterback.
For a 10-win team. Yes,
He's a
but
rookie
go look
quarterback.
at Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's challenging people downfield. Joe Burrow was challenging
And look
people
at their
downfield.
record. And look at the Chargers and Bengals record.
Well, I'm not saying that it has any effect one way or the other, but obviously it's not all Tua that's going out and winning these games either. And that's the thing. That's the issue, that they need a winner at quarterback, not a game manager like what Tua is.
They absolutely could. They have enough. They have enough weapons. They have a strong enough defense. Like if they could ride with Tua, I'm just saying it's not good for the guy's psyche. So that way, when Fitzpatrick isn't there anymore, and you're riding with Tua. Like, that's the only argument that I'm making is that Tua, like, if you're all in on Tua, be all in on Tua.
Yeah, but the thing is, like you just said, if you're trying to win games and you're trying to move forward and have this great team, you obviously can't rely on Tua. The thing is, you're trying to win games. You're in the NFL, and if you want to keep your coaching job, you got to be able to win games. And if Tua's not the guy to be able to get you that win, you got to turn to the next guy, and the next guy did it. So,
then why isn't Fitzpatrick starting every week?
Then why is Tua not being able to always come up and be able to finish games? I mean, we can go both ways with this, and this is not
right.
the
and
first
that's why
time it's happened either.
And that's why I'm saying if Fitzpatrick's the guy that's going to win you games, why is he not starting every week?
Because you have a quarterback quandary in Miami right now. That's why. Somehow you have a
Absolutely.
10-win team with a question mark at quarterback.
The problem is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Fitzpatrick is the better quarterback in Miami for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
But the front office, when you spend that kind of a draft pick on Tua Tagovailoa, they're pushing to make him the guy, especially when you see
Absolutely.
the aforementioned Burrow and Herbert doing what they're doing as rookies. They're like, oh shit, we got to get in on this too. We got to press and make our first round pick look really good. So we have to play him. And I think that's what's going to run into some trouble for Miami, especially when you get into a playoff scenario. Are you going to start Tua and then bench him for Fitzmagic?
Yeah, exactly.
Late in the game? That's the stuff that they got to think about. But I think that's where the disconnect is between Brian Flores and the front office. I think they both want two different things.
Man, I wish you really could read the chat right now, but I'll go have to do it.
I wish I could too.
Is that, you know what? It doesn't matter whether you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning. So, got to make sure.
Calm down, Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel, calm down.
Hey,
in the chat.
George is Vin Dieseling in the chat over here. He's flexing. Let me flex with him.
Dude, I had you.
You didn't have your car. Anyways, so it's it's definitely gonna be crazy to see how this goes. Definitely Jimmy and George is going at it in the chat. It's just too entertaining. But we do have to keep the show going, and we have a lot of games that are going to be going on today. Starting in our 1 o'clock window with the Atlanta Falcons at 4-10, traveling on over to our defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 13-1. Kansas City is favored by 10.5. Over under at 53. The Falcons have been looking more competitive offensively, but still will be without Julio Jones. Matt Ryan having a resurgence last week, actually looking like his former self and playing a little bit of quarterback. However, Kansas City, I feel, is just too strong offensively, and this is going to end up probably being a little bit of a shootout, but I think the Kansas City defense will probably be able to get more stops than the Atlanta Falcons defense, which is garbage at best. So this is going to end up being a Kansas City rout, I feel. Still a shootout because I think Falcons are capable of putting up 30 in this, but I think Kansas City's still going to win it. Falcons might cover.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting matchup for sure. Next game on the 1 o'clock window on CBS, we got the 10-4 Browns are going to be playing the 1-13 Jets. The Jets got their first win of the season last week and lost. So they won and they lost. So by getting that win, they're now no longer in the driver's seat for the number 1 pick for Trevor Lawrence. That now is in the Jacksonville Jaguars' hands. Just imagine that's what happens with the Jets. Even when they won, they lose.
Yes.
But no, so outside of that game, this is a game that I last week would have thought that the Jets have a chance to just pull off the game, get a win in a major upset, because it would be very Browns of the Browns to lose a game that they're supposed to win when it matters. But this could be the first playoff berth since 2002 for the Browns. But they're missing a ton of players. They only have 2 active wide receivers that I saw, at least through on Twitter. They're having to pull guys from the practice squad. They've only got 2 active wide receivers. So they're going to rely a lot on the run, I think, in this game. Nick Chubb still having a pretty solid season, double-digit touchdowns, just shy of 1,000 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt just shy of 800 yards rushing. So that's really what this team, I think, is going to rely on. That defense is going to have to just not screw up. If you're the Browns defense, you're just going to have to not screw up, because the Jets, they've been a lot more competitive in the last couple weeks. And I would not be surprised in the least bit to see the Jets keep it close, or the Jets somehow pull off an upset.
Oh my gosh. Don't even say that. Oh my gosh. No, I love Jimmy's comment,
I said this last week, and it happened. So watch out.
You are right, but you can only beat that horse so many times. So we'll see how that works out. But I love Jimmy's comment on. He's like, when you need help chasing crap team perfection, you're in more trouble than you thought. So there's so much craziness going on. But yeah, it definitely will be interesting. But in our next game, we have the 10-4 Indianapolis Colts traveling on over to take on the 11-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Colts are favored by 2, but Steelers are on a 3-game losing streak to teams that they just should not have lost to.
Weakest undefeated team in the NFL. I've been saying that all year.
You know, it's crazy that if the Steelers lose and the Browns win, we have a tie on top of the AFC North. So something to keep in mind there. And I'm not going to lie. I think that's how it's going to end up going, because I think the Colts are just going to be too much for the Steelers defense. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been very inconsistent offensively, defensively for the past 3 weeks, and it's been crazy. It's almost like a flip switched, you know, and Phillip Rivers ain't playing bad football right now. So I think the Colts are going to be able to go in and win this game, and I dare I say the Steelers are going to lose their 4th straight game.
Yep. That Steelers D can only be so good for so long before they start breaking, because that offense is so horribly bad. It is so bad, and the Colts defense is much better. They're much better than what the Steelers offense is going to be able to provide. So I'm with you on that. I think that Colts D is going to come up pretty big today.
And like Jimmy says, Phillip Rivers in December, ask any AFC West fan. I tell you what. Dude does play clutch late in the season, so I mean, just not in the playoffs. Sorry, but you know, definitely will be interesting, and we'll see how it works out.
And our next game in the 1 o'clock window, the 7-7 Chicago Bears travel to Jacksonville, who is 1-13. Chicago's favored by 8, and the over/under is at 46.5. Now, Chicago still has a chance at making the playoffs, and I think that is going to be a little bit of a motivation factor for Chicago here.
Mm-hmm.
Allen Robinson is returning to Jacksonville after playing there for a couple of years to start his season, or start his career. But this having Minshew back in the lineup is good for Jacksonville. But if we're talking Chicago's defense, as long as they can not turn the ball over, Chicago's offense, and they can utilize David Montgomery, I think James Robinson for the Jags is out this game too.
Yep.
So I mean, there's not a lot of hope here for Jacksonville. They're going to probably pull out as many stops as they need to lose this game, so that way they can ensure getting the number 1 pick.
They already announced they're starting Mike Glennon, so I think they're ensuring they're going to lose this game. So
yeah,
good job.
Yeah,
guys.
that's yeah. Well, Doug Marrone hopefully is going to be fired after this year. So if you're a Jags fan, we can take solace in that.
Mm-hmm.
It just sucks that James Robinson's not going to be playing because he's 35 yards shy of breaking the most rushing yards in a season by an undrafted rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic Rhodes holds that record of 1,065 rushing yards by an undrafted rookie, and Robinson needs 35 yards to break it. So hopefully he can play next week. But yeah, if you're the Jags, all you can hope for is that you lose out the rest of the season, you can get Trevor Lawrence, you fire Doug Marrone, and then I think you're in a much better position to actually have a competitive football team.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think they definitely could do it, and I feel bad for James Robinson though in this position. Hopefully he does get to play next week. Ankle injuries suck, so I definitely know. But yeah, I think the Jags are in a good position and are even put cornerback Sidney Jones on IR because of his Achilles. So yeah, they're tanking it. They're gonna try and lose this game as hard as they can. Get Trevor Lawrence, like you said, and I think there's going to be a good future for the Jags. But you got to keep losing this year. Sorry, you just got to go through a little bit more hurt. It's only 2 more games, right? So it works.
Only 2 more.
only 2 more. But in our next game, we have the 5-9 New York Giants traveling on up to Baltimore to take on the 9-5 Ravens. Baltimore is favored by 9.5. The Giants, though, it's hard to know what Giants you're getting from week to week. You put them up against Seattle, and they end up doing some craziness, but you put them up against a garbage team, and they lose. So I just don't know what you're going to get from the Giants week to week. They're playing the Ravens, who do have Lamar Jackson playing some crazy football right now. I mean, hey, when you go and take a giant dump and come back and win a game, I mean, that's stuff of lore. So the Giants, I don't think, are going to have quite enough to win this game. However, I think the Giants might be able to keep it close, but it really just depends upon the quarterback play. I know Daniel Jones has been banged up, and I don't even know if he's going to be starting today. I don't know if they're going to have him or Colt McCoy in this one, to be honest. But it doesn't really matter who's going to be at quarterback because they're going to get banged up by this defense because this defense has been not very nice to quarterbacks this year. So I think that the Ravens will win it, but the Giants might cover. So.
And last game in the 1 o'clock window, we have Cincinnati 3-10-1 traveling to Houston, who's 4-10. Houston is favored by 7.5, and the over/under is at 45. Shocking win by the Cincinnati Bengals last week, and over the hapless Pittsburgh Steelers, weakest undefeated team in the NFL.
That's what I'm saying.
But the Houston Texans have lost 3 straight, and the Bengals don't know if they're starting Ryan Finley or Brandon Allen this week. So that's really going to be the big question mark here in this game is who's going to start. Are the Bengals going to be able to get up for this game after riding the high of beating the Steelers last week?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to take Houston in this game just because Deshaun Watson's had such of a role this year. 4,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, only 6 picks. They're averaging just under 300 yards passing a game.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be a key, I think, in this matchup.
Oh, it definitely could be. Before we move on, I got to throw this out there. It literally made me laugh out loud. Jimmy saying in the chat that that dump will be in his Hall of Fame montage, referring to Lamar Jackson coming back to beat the Browns. So, yeah, when you take the Browns to the Super Bowl and then you show the Browns that they're not going to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, definitely was crazy. But in our first game in the 405 window, we have the Denver Broncos at 5-9 traveling down to the LA Chargers, also at 5-9. The Chargers are favored by 3. Denver is going to be without Philip Lindsay, who just got put on IR after already being declared out for this game. Also, Denver's going to be without their starting middle linebacker. So there's a lot of things going on right now with Denver. They're having some issues here and there, and they have not been looking good in any way, shape, or form, really. It's probably not going to be a great day. Justin Herbert, though, has been looking really good as a rookie quarterback. Haven't been able to get, obviously, all those wins, but he still has 3,700 yards on the season to go along, 27 touchdowns. So definitely something to look at. But the one thing that I guess you could look out storyline-wise is Melvin Gordon is going to be playing against the Chargers. So that's we'll see how that goes. He still has 800 yards on the season and 8 touchdowns, so probably not quite as much as he would have hoped to have in his debut season with the Broncos, but hey, we'll see how it works out. But in this game, I think the Chargers still will take it. They are the more talented team offensively right now, and I think they're going to be able to pull this one out.
Next matchup is the Carolina Panthers 4-10 traveling to Washington, the 6-8 football team, or football club, as JDM likes to say. This game's going to be on CBS. This is a pick'em, and the over-under is at 42. Now, I haven't seen any news about who is starting because Alex Smith is still having some issues with his calf, but he's a 4-1 as a starter, so they're trying to still put themselves in a position. They're in the driver's seat to win the NFC East, but there's a possibility that Dwayne Haskins could be starting this game, which is really funny and ironic because Haskins is in the doghouse of all doghouses in Washington. I can't understand the stupidity of this man over the last couple weeks. He's only been there for 2 years now. This is his second year, and they're already talking about cutting him after this year because he asked for a trade after he was benched because he wasn't playing well, and Ron Rivera supposedly doesn't think he's a very smart quarterback. Went to Ohio State, shocker. Shocker there. But then he also got himself in trouble because he's been blatantly not adhering to COVID protocols. He was stripped of his captaincy earlier this year, fined $40,000 by the team. Mm-hmm. He is just a dump. He is by himself. He's a hot mess. Yeah. He is a hot mess. So I am just yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised that I'm surprised they haven't even put him on the IR or a healthy scratch or something at this point, because if you know he's not going to be your guy moving forward, there's no sense in even trying to put him on the field. Try to find somebody else that could be your quarterback for this game. I don't even know who else they got. Who's the other guy that he pulled from Carolina?
Well, they still
trying to pull it up.
Well, they still have Alex Smith listed as questionable. Alex Smith, though, did practice in full this week for the first time since straining his right calf, but he still is listed as questionable. So I would figure it's going to be Alex Smith coming back in this game. But if he doesn't, I think it was, what's his name? Not Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen.
Kyle Allen. There you go. Hey, I got it right. So you would figure that Kyle Allen will probably step in and take over, but they, no matter what, will be without Terry McLaurin. He is being sat for this game with an ankle injury, so there is that. But running back Antonio Gibson is coming back as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I think if anybody but Dwayne Haskins starts this football game, I think Washington wins. If Dwayne Haskins starts the game, I'm not confident that Washington's going to win.
I might have to agree with that assessment. So in our first 425 game, we have the Philadelphia Eagles 4-9-1. God, that hurts to say. Traveling on down to Dallas to take on the 5-9 and stupidly annoying Cowboys. Philadelphia is favored by 3. I'll try not to be biased in my assessment of this, but at the end of the day, Deshaun Jackson may be coming back for this game. That could be a huge boon for this offense, who really kind of need a dynamic playmaker somewhere to do something, especially if you pair him up with a young quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who's also going to be getting the start. Carson Wentz still riding that pine. Start playing better, bro. Maybe you'll get back in the game. I don't know. We'll see. But Philadelphia does figure to play pretty well in this. Dallas has been looking very porous defensively. Offensively, they've been very inconsistent. I think Philadelphia has a good shot, but really to me, this game is a pick'em because both teams are so wildly inconsistent. You never know what you're getting week to week. But I'm going to go ahead and lean with the youth, lean with the talent. I'm going to go and put my faith in Hurts, and I think the Eagles are going to pull this one out. I got to try. After last week, I totally threw him to the side, so you know.
You did. I tried to pull for him and thought they might pull something out, but turns out not to be the case.
At least it was exciting.
In a big time matchup, the next couple games are big time matchups in the NFL this week. NFC West matchup: the LA Rams are 9-5, and they are traveling to Seattle, who's 10-4. Seattle is favored by 1, and the over/under is at 47.5. This game's going to be on Fox. Now, a week ago, this might have been a much, I think, closer analysis of the game, but with the Rams just somehow, I don't know who they pissed off of the football gods, but they somehow lost against the Jets. I don't have a whole lot of faith in the Rams getting up for this game. Yes, they still have a very good defense. It's still ranked one of the top in the NFL. But that's really going to be the big matchup, is that defense versus the offense, because we know Seattle's defense is not very good, and they're relying heavily on their offense to pull them through games. So I'm just to make things interesting, and because the Seattle offense cannot, in my opinion, consistently do this week in and week out without their defense having to step up a little bit, I'm going to take the Rams in an upset here. Because I think Jared Goff, we know he's up and down. I think he has a mediocre enough game, and that defense gets a couple turnovers. They contain Russell Wilson enough, and I think the Rams get an upset to make this a really interesting NFC West in Week 17.
So Rams go from losing to the Jets to the next week beating the Seahawks. I mean, that's a 2020 storyline if I've ever heard one. So, I mean, why not?
That's also the NFL. When you get a team like this that loses that game, they're going to be pissed off. They're going to be pissed off at themselves. They're going to be pissed off at everybody else on their own team, and they're going to be like, let's go out and let's show everybody that was a fluke. Let's show everybody that game had no reason we should have lost that game. So I would not be surprised if the Rams pull off the upset here, even though it's on the road, but there's no fans. So the atmosphere in Seattle is much, much less of a problem.
Yeah. There's no 12th man in Seattle right now, so he's at home in quarantine. So, I mean, hey, I guess we'll see what happens. But in our Sunday night game, and dare I say, this could be a Super Bowl preview. The 10-4 Tennessee Titans travel on up to the frozen tundra to take on the 11-3 Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is favored by 3. Definitely game of the week. Absolutely. This game is going to be exciting. You're going to see a nasty rushing offense against this nasty passing offense. It's just going to be craziness and pandemonium. I think you're going to see a lot of points scored in this. Dare I say, this may even go into overtime. It's going to be that close. But I'm going to call Tennessee to pull the upset on Green Bay and win this game on who else? On the legs of Derrick Henry, who's going to make everybody look like small children playing in his backyard as he just runs them over and probably gets maybe a 6th or a 7th nice posterizing stiff arm. I mean, dude's just money.
Yeah, time of possession is really going to be the key here for Tennessee. We know what Aaron Rodgers can do when he's got the ball. Doesn't matter if it's the late game of the fourth quarter. They can almost score at will with that offense. Almost seems like almost every year. So that's going to be the thing for Tennessee. Don't turn it over. Play solid enough defense and just run the ball. If you can control the time of possession, I think they have a very good chance to win.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how that goes down. But I'm definitely going to call Tennessee to win it. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. Watch that game. It's going to be crazy.
And last game, Monday night matchup, the 11-3 Buffalo Bills travel to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots, who are 6-8. The Patriots are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. They're 7-point underdogs, and the over-under is at 46. What I'm looking for here, AFC East already wrapped up. The Bills have home field advantage, and they're still mathematically alive for the first-round bye in the number 1 seed. So I think that's going to be a big thing to fight for here. With the Patriots, they've just got to be able to control the clock running the football, which is one of the only good things they do. But I think just the Buffalo Bills are a little bit too talented for the Patriots right now. Just kind of how they're stacked up. The Patriots defense is good, but the Buffalo Bills offense has been absolutely on fire. Josh Allen has been playing tremendously throughout this 2020 season. So I'm gonna use that as kind of the catalyst here. Is I think even though it's gonna probably be a sluggish game to start, I think the Bills end up kind of just imposing their will and just eventually just take over the game by the end of it. I think the Bills will take it.
It's so crazy to say that the Bills are more talented than the Patriots. That is such a weird line to hear. I'm not even going to lie. That is also a 2020 line if I've ever heard one. But the Patriots are listing 20 of their 51 players on their roster as questionable for the Monday night game, including Damian Harris because of his ankle. So, I mean, Patriots could be really undermanned as well, which I think would make it even easier for the Bills to impose their will as well. So I have to absolutely agree with you.
And Bill Belichick in a press conference this week was asked about his confidence in Cam Newton and starting and being the guy for the last couple of weeks of the season. He just said, "Yeah, we'll see."
Yeah, right. That's such a Bill
Which
Belichick
is a big
answer.
It's a big turn of events because he gave Cam Newton a vote of confidence just a few weeks ago, even though they lost to the Rams. So, he hasn't been playing well, Cam Newton. It's really surprising because I thought that this would be a pretty good marriage, and Belichick likes to have some mobile quarterbacks if he's able to, but if you got a guy who's not very accurate, they're having some trouble on the offensive line. They're having a lot of trouble with just receivers in general. They don't have any. That just shows you the Tom Brady effect because look what he was doing with no receivers basically for a couple of years, and now it's actually the flaws that the Patriots have been having underneath the surface for the last couple of years are finally coming to the top because you don't have a guy like Tom Brady to kind of cover up those flaws.
Absolutely, and I have to absolutely agree, and that's something to kind of look forward to. And we got Jimmy in the chat saying that he called it with the Bills. No Brady equals Bills taking it to the next level. And I definitely have to say, and it's funny that it happened in the same week that you had New England missing the playoffs for the first time since 2008, and then the Bucs qualifying for the playoffs for the first time since 2007. So pretty crazy to see. I think we have answered the question at this point of, I guess, what really made the Patriots go for all those Super Bowl rings and all those accolades. And, hey, I'm going to say it's more Brady than Bill. So some might argue with that. But, I mean, can we argue with it right now? So, I don't know. It's gonna
You
be
can't really make much of an argument.
No, but you can make an argument for. You can make an argument for how awesome all the things that we have in our PCN shop.
Yeah, well, hopefully you got your orders in for Christmas and got everybody the gift they all wanted, which was gear from Podcast City Network and FinalScore. You can have those awesome neck gaiters that you see Chris wearing right now, protect you from COVID-19. You can get a mug for your morning coffee or just a T-shirt if you want to look good and rep your favorite podcast on Podcast City Network. We've got you covered. You can check out the latest apparel and gear for your favorite podcast and for the network by visiting podcastcity.net/shop and checking out the lineup.
Yeah, that's right. Also, all kinds of great stuff. I know I've been picking up stuff left and right lately. Been really cool. Got me a nice, awesome Podcast City Network hoodie, too, that I don't have on because I'm not trying to boil to death in here right now. But amazing gift from my one and only Craig. So definitely some great stuff going on. Some other great stuff going on, though, is that we kicked off the NBA season, baby. NBA is back.
Absolutely. NBA kicked off early this week on the 22nd. Lots of good stuff here. We can't have this kind of a segment without obviously talking about our hometown Magic.
Of course.
The Magic won their home opener against the Miami Heat, 113-107. Miami Heat being the defending Eastern Conference champion. And I had a chance to watch this game because it wasn't blacked out. Thanks a lot. And just broadcast gods. I don't know what happened there. I couldn't get the Wizards game last night. Might not be able to get the game tonight. It's complete and utter bullshit, so not really happy about that. But I was able to watch this game. But no, it was good. The Magic looked, for the most part, pretty good. I mean, they forced 22 turnovers, which, that's for a team like the Miami Heat. That's what they pride themselves on, playing defense, don't turn the ball over, and they got some really good three-point shooters. But forcing 22 turnovers, Bam still did Bam things, 25 points, 11 rebounds. Goran Dragic had 20 points off the bench. But, Terrence Ross looked really good coming off the bench in this game. He was actually on that game. Same thing with Fournier. Those two guys, the big argument against them, my personal opinion, has always been their inconsistency. Well, that night one of the season, they were both on. They both played really well, and helped push them to a surprising season open win against the Miami Heat. And then we actually had one of Podcast City Network's own, S Money, Steve of Double Dime, was actually live at the game, which is pretty cool. We do have some fans, about 4,000, I think they said, we can have at the Amway Center for right now.
Yeah, it was really cool to kind of see him down there. He sent me a picture of them down there in the arena. It was very empty. He said it was crazy, too, because they were only, I think, 20 minutes before tip-off, and he's like, yeah, it's like nobody here. It's like a ghost town. But he said getting into the game was really easy. Getting into the arena through security, he said it took no time at all. He said that was actually pretty nice. But at the end of the day, yeah, not a lot of fans there. But he said they played great. You've been seeing just kind of like a different approach to the team. It's like a new energy, he said, to where you see Fultz is starting to play better. You're starting to see guys like Jonathan Isaac start to come into it more. Vu's still playing the same way. Evan Fournier's coming back more. He said it seems like a more complete team. So this could be a good thing for Orlando fans moving forward. So, definitely make sure to check back regularly, as we'll have a lot more Magic news and NBA news as we move forward through the season.
Yeah, big game last night against the Wizards. Magic starting the season off right, 2-0. They beat the Wizards by 10, 130 to 120. Very high-scoring game. Magic led at the end of every quarter. Vucevic had a double-double, 22 and 17. Fultz had 21 and 7 assists. The bench scored 52 points. They outscored 52 to 35 for the Wizards, and Ross had 25 of those. So Ross off to a really good start the first couple games, and they held off the Wizards, who Bradley Beal, 39.7 rebounds, 5 assists. Russell Westbrook had a triple-double again. So 2 games in the season, he's had 2 triple-doubles. But the thing that comes off there is the fact that Russell Westbrook did say at the end of the game that the loss was on him. Absolutely. 31% from the field, 0 for 4 from 3, 6 of 19. I've been saying this for years, at least for the last year or two. Russell Westbrook only cares about padding the stats. Yes, he says he's pissed off that he loses, but he takes terrible shots. He's not a reliable jump shot as far as when he's even open. 0 for 4 from 3, 6 of 19 from the field, but he's still got his 15, 15, and 12. So his stats are cool with that.
Right.
It's just, if you're the Wizards, I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out because of how Westbrook plays. And Beal's a good shooter. He's going to get his points. But the Magic play the Wizards tonight at 7, so they have a second of a back-to-back against the same team. These are the only 2 times that the Magic are going to be facing off against the Wizards in the first half of the season. So, I mean, that's, if you're looking at the Magic and you mentioned that they look a little bit different, it's because they're not playing at the slow, methodical pace that Steve Clifford likes to run. They talked about in the offseason speeding it up a little bit, getting guys out in the open floor. Having a guy like Cole Anthony is going to help that. He's actually been playing really well for first couple games from a rookie player. Can't expect a whole lot out of him, but this team does look a lot better. You just need, if the Magic really want to do something, you've got to speed up your offense a little bit more, and you've got to make sure to do whatever you can when Ross and Fournier are running hot. You got to let them keep going until once they start running cold, get them out of the game, because that's one thing that those 2 guys really struggle with is that inconsistency. If they can stay consistent, which if they haven't been consistent and they've been there for a couple of years now, you know what you're getting from those two players. So I haven't been a huge Evan Fournier fan, but he has played pretty well in the last couple of games, so that's very good. But yeah, Magic off to a great start, and we'll see if they can continue tonight.
Absolutely, and definitely looking good, starting out 2-0. Definitely a great start to the season. So we'll definitely, like I said, have a lot more for you guys moving forward because it could be a Magic's year, man. You never know. So some other people, though, that aren't feeling all that great after opening night was the Warriors and the Lakers both being downed. Warriors losing to the Nets 125-99, not even close. And the Clippers beating out the Lakers 116-109 on opening night. And, man, I tell you, it was a crazy opening night to see that happen.
Well, the Lakers, we mentioned, I had talked last week with Gerald Glassford of the Lakers Fast Break podcast, and one of the things that he touched on was the fact that there's a lot of new pieces here, and they all have to – it's going to be a rough start for the Lakers. This 2020-2021 season, they did beat the Mavericks, which is over the last couple nights, so that's a step in the right direction. But there's going to be a little bit of inconsistency in LA for the Lakers. As far as the other side, the Nets and the Warriors, unfortunately for the Warriors, you've got guys like Kelly Oubre, who hasn't hit a single three-pointer yet this year. He's very inconsistent of a jump shot. Andrew Wiggins, also very inconsistent of a player. Mm-hmm. When you have – and Draymond Green hasn't played yet, so you don't really know what you're going to expect. This team is still not complete, but Steph Curry has looked good. The problem is he's the only weapon they have on that team. So I think he's realizing that, oh, shit, we need guys to come back. We need Green to come back. We got to hope that Klay Thompson can be half the player that he was when he does finally come back, since he had his second gruesome injury. Yeah. James Wiseman has been a bright spot for the Warriors, so that's good to know. But I'm really surprised at how well Brooklyn's played. Like, Brooklyn beat the Warriors, but they also beat the Celtics over the last couple nights. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant have played very well together. This team also, Karis LeVert has been playing well in a supporting role. The big question about the Brooklyn Nets is going to be the depth of their bench and how can they make all these pieces work. And so far, through a couple games, Brooklyn's looking really good. I mean, they're going to be competing for that division with, Philadelphia and Toronto, who's surprisingly 0-2. But there's been a it must be. It's got to be the Tampa effect. But there's been a lot of really good basketball. But speaking of the Celtics, they had a really good game against the Bucks, which was really, really kind of funny if you were paying attention. That Giannis signed the Supermax, bricked a couple free throws to put this Bucks back in it, to take the lead at the end of a game. But, hey, a lot of credit to Jason Tatum. Nailed a clutch three with Giannis in his face to take the 122-121 win. So, a lot of great action. C.J. McCollum just had a 40-point night last night against the Rockets. And James Harden also had a 40-point night in that same game. There's been a lot of great NBA action. Happy to have it back. And we're looking forward to bringing a little bit more NBA coverage this year. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be interesting now that we're moving back out of the bubble and back into a more normal style of play with these teams actually playing in their home arenas now. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how it moves forward. And definitely check back with us at PCN Final Score and here on our weekly show. That way we can bring you the latest and greatest from the NBA, just like we bring you the latest and greatest on all of our content platforms for Final Score, which you can find our audio offerings on Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. We're also on CastBox and a number of other platforms. So definitely make sure to go check us out. If we are not on a platform that you use, let us know, and we will try and get it on there as quickly as we can, because we definitely want to make sure that you guys are able to hear us on your favorite platform. So just let us know. You can even email us at pcnfinalscore@gmail.com or hit us up on our social media. And you can also find all of our video offerings on YouTube. So definitely make sure to check those out. That way you can catch our beautiful faces in stunning HD format. So, great stuff. And then, of course.
Yeah. Including the last three interviews we did on YouTube all covering the NBA. I mentioned Gerald Glassford, the Lakers Fast Break podcast, is up there. Andrew Hopper of the Brew Party podcast. That was a lot of fun for that interview as well. And Paris Jackson of the Showcase podcast talking about his predictions for the first half of the NBA season. All those are on the YouTube page.
Yes, definitely go check it out. All you got to do is search keyword Final Score, one word, and you'll be able to find all of it there. And, of course, you can find us on Podcast City Network at podcastcity.net/FinalScore, which has become our central hub for everything Final Score. So definitely make sure to go check it out. And now we got to go switch over gears to college football. Been a lot of crazy action, some good stuff, some not so good stuff. But, hey, you kind of get that with every season. But I guess we'll kick it off with the sad stuff first so we can end on a high note later. And that was Utah Utes freshman running back Ty Johnson has passed at the young age of 19. He was the Utes' leading rusher in 2020 and was the Pac-12 Offensive Freshman of the Year. Very sad situation, and was believed to be part of an accidental shooting and was believed to have accidentally shot himself. So a very, very tough loss for that family.
Yeah, this is unfortunate. Saw this on social media yesterday. Our hearts go out to not only the Utah football family, but also the family of Ty Johnson.
Yes.
It's tough because he lost his mother five months ago to bone and lung cancer. So for all the people that are making jokes about someone accidentally shooting themselves and don't put guns in idiots' hands, think about that before you tweet that shit next time.
Yeah.
Before you post that stuff, because with Christmas, it's COVID. He lost his mother 5 months ago. There's a very good possibility that this could have been an unfortunate suicide.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of signs are pointing that. Not a lot of information has been released by the police department yet. So it was near his home in Denton, Texas, I believe. I know he's from Texas, but it's really unfortunate. You hate to see this kind of stuff. Kid had a bright future, and we'll wait to see more information that is released if and when that stuff is released. We really hope this wasn't a suicide, but I mean, at any point, we lost a young athlete who was really on the verge of doing a lot of great things. He was going through some tough times, and you never like to see that kind of stuff happen to people.
No, you never do, and it's always very difficult for all those involved, friends, family, and anybody who might have known him. Very talented guy, very, very nice young man, was very talented. I thought he could have been a guy that might eventually be able to make it in the NFL, but sadly, life cut short. And, we do live in crazy times, so if you know someone who's dealing with any kind of issues, reach out to them. Let them know you're there for them because, even something that simple could go a very long way. So, very sad story, but we're going to try and switch gears and kind of bring it up a beat. For our local Miami fans, Miami Hurricane fans, quarterback D'Eriq King is going to be returning for the 2021 season. He's opting to come back due to a granted extra year by the NCAA because of COVID, which, if you do not know, the NCAA has granted all fall and currently fall-winter athletes, and I believe they're going to extend it to spring athletes as well, an extra year of eligibility. This year will not count whether you played or not. So D'Eriq King is going to make use of that to come back after throwing for 2,500 yards and 22 touchdowns against 5 interceptions. So the guy's a great talent, man.
Yeah, this is big for Miami football because he was a redshirt senior, so he wasn't supposed to be able to come back. But as you mentioned, that waiver by the NCAA. And Miami, looking at where they were before he stepped in, they were one of the worst offensive teams in the ACC. He steps in. He had 3 games of over 300 passing yards, one of those being 430 yards, 4 games of 3 or more touchdown passes. He only threw a pick in 3 games, so he had 2 two-pick games.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Miami finishes this year 8-2, 7-2 in the ACC, which is still a very good record, Absolutely. Even with Clemson and Notre Dame in the ACC, even though Notre Dame's only in for the 1 year. We know that. But they can finish off the season against Oklahoma State on Tuesday, the 29th, in the Cheez-It Bowl. That's just funny how these games they're named now. But it's big because between him coming back and also having the recruiting classes that Manny Diaz has brought in, this is big news for Miami Hurricanes fans.
Oh, absolutely. This could really help them going forward, especially when you think about the recruiting aspect of it. Now you have a very veteran quarterback who's going to be able to help groom some of these quarterback prospects and maybe talk them into coming to Miami. So, that's something that they need because that's going to help in every kind of way on and off the field. But we do have our top 4 for the college football playoff. If you saw the video that I posted shortly after last week's episode, we do have a top 4. Number 1, Alabama. Number 2, Clemson. Number 3, Ohio State. And number 4, Notre Dame, going pretty much how we predicted. So definitely going to be interesting. You're going to see Alabama versus Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl game, as well as Clemson versus Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl, both taking place on New Year's Day on ESPN. So, man, what's your take on these games?
Yay.
You're just
That's
mad
my
it's not
reaction.
Michigan.
No. I'm not mad that it's not Michigan, because Michigan was absolutely garbage this year. They're missing a bunch of players that opted out. There's a bunch of turmoil going on in Michigan. I'm not even touching on that stuff right now. That's for a different podcast. But the reason I do that is because, again, we see Alabama and Clemson and Ohio State all in the playoff.
You got somebody different.
Hey, we got one team different right now, being Notre Dame. So that's going to be interesting. But it's going to play out the same. Alabama is going to win. Clemson's going to win. It's going to be Alabama-Clemson in the championship. And I honestly think Trevor Lawrence is going to go out with a bang. Clemson's probably going to win again. Then he's going to be the MVP of the game, number 1 pick in the draft. Let's just move on to the next season.
Man, he's just ready for it to be done. He's like, let's just speed right through this. We know how this works out. But
at least that's how I see it. That's how I see it.
But that's not how it's going to go, because I'm going to be the crazy guy who's going to hope for the impossible, because as a Notre Dame fan, our prayer is that Ohio State somehow upsets Clemson and that we somehow upset Alabama, end up with a crazy 3-4 matchup in the championship. Notre Dame wins against a fraudulent Ohio State, and, it's all happy. But we know realistically that's not going to happen. Clemson's going to roll Ohio State by at least 30 and advance yet again to the championship game. But this Alabama-Notre Dame game, I know a lot of people on paper say there's no way Notre Dame can hang with Alabama. Au contraire, because what's his name? Mac Jones is no Trevor Lawrence, and that's going to be the one difference in this game. And I think the game will be a lot closer. Am I unrealistic in the fact that Alabama's probably going to win it? No, I'm not unrealistic. Alabama definitely could win this. But don't count out Notre Dame. If they can get their crap together, they could actually have a shot in this, because Notre Dame has not been blown out twice in one season. So something to keep in mind. We already got blown out by Clemson.
First time
against Bama.
First time for everything.
Exactly, and that goes both ways. So Notre Dame could pull up the upset, but I'm not going to be crazy. Alabama's going to advance, and Clemson's going to win the championship. Let's roll the next season.
I don't have the spread in front of me, but I know it opened pretty wide.
17.5.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Bama by 20.
Oof. I'm only gonna say Bama by 10. So
but it's probably gonna be like a 35-17 type game. Like, I don't think it's not gonna be super high scoring, but I mean Bama's just athletically superior to every other program not named Clemson in the country. Like,
this is very true.
It's like Mac Jones, even if he has a terrible game, all the receivers and running backs and defense they have, I think Alabama's just too talented. But I think the one team that does have a chance against them could be Clemson.
They're all too talented. Steroids are working well this year. My God.
No, it's all that. Yeah, it's all that money they're getting paid to be there too. By the way.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why Bama and Clemson are always number 1 and number 2. How do you think they get the big recruits?
Throw enough money
There's
at
a lot of
it,
stuff
make
going on.
happen, right?
But yeah, in all realism, I do think it's going to be Bama Clemson in the championship, and then we'll see how they play in this game, and then we'll readdress the championship game next week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely make sure to check back with us, as we will have a preview of that game once we know the results of this week's game on New Year's Day. Of course, you have Alabama and Notre Dame in the Rose Bowl, which is being also relocated to Arlington, Texas, to AT&T Stadium. That'll be the 4 o'clock game. Clemson, Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl at Mercedes-Benz Superdome will be the 8 p.m. game. So definitely check it out and then check back next week with us. But, there's also been some craziness with the bowl season already. I don't know if you caught some of the games last night, but we had a huge upset as Liberty, that's right, Hugh Freeze-led Liberty took down number 12 Coastal Carolina 37-34 in overtime. Crazy games already happening. What do you think about Coastal Carolina going down?
Not terribly surprised, because Hugh Freeze, Hugh Freeze runs a unique offense, but it's also very high powered. So if you don't have the defense or to stop or the offense to keep up, watching this, I did get a chance to watch the first quarter and a half of this game, and Coastal Carolina was down, I think, 14 points right away, 14 or 17 points. And I was like, okay, so I flipped over to the Miami-Vegas game in the NFL. So I did get a chance to watch a little bit of this game, but not a whole lot.
Right.
It's nice for the little guy to get some national recognition. Liberty's not been a Division I program for very long, so that's a pretty cool win for them, especially against it's a non-Power 5 team, but it's a win against a ranked team. So that's big for your program, and I think that's heading in the right direction. And Hugh Freeze, even for all the scandals and stuff that he's had in his coaching career, it's a big win.
Yeah, definitely. They get their 10th win on the season, moved to 10-1. So definitely a good year for Liberty, obviously. But a couple other games I want to highlight real quick. We saw Appalachian State, who was an FCS powerhouse. They took down North Texas 56-28 in the Murder Bowl. Memphis beats Florida Atlantic 25-10 in the Montgomery Bowl. But what I really want to point out is the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl. That's a mouthful.
Yes.
Between BYU and UCF. And, man, BYU took UCF behind that woodshed and not pulled out 1 2x4, but pulled out 2, 3, maybe even 5 2x4s and beat the Golden Knights Golden as BYU took it 49-23. Wasn't even close.
I'm listening for our UCF fans.
Where's Kevin?
Oh, there's crickets. The UCF fans that were talking about how they should be in the college football playoff over the last 5 years, and what?
Hold on.
Oh man.
You know that was all surmised in. It's just
it's like music to my ears, because thank you for bringing them back down to earth.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm really intrigued. All seriousness, I'm really intrigued to see or to hear from Knights fans, how sick are you of Josh Heupel? Because ever since he took over this team, even though we knew that window was closing, but for the diehard UCF fans, they thought their window was still wide open. So how do you feel about Josh Heupel? I'm really intrigued to hear about how that went. But this is more of a testament of BYU's offense. Zach Wilson, going to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft coming up, 425 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. BYU, they just play a game like within the last week too before this?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken,
but all BYU does is just hear
touchdown
and just make magic happen, man.
I love how you just have to you just plug those things every so often. It's great.
Got to.
But yeah, BYU, outside of that one loss against Coastal Carolina, which now you got to wonder, was that a fluke of a loss? Where could they be if they did win against Coastal Carolina? And
still
they could be sitting at. But I mean, you're probably have a much bigger matchup. But honestly, this is probably the best thing to happen to BYU, or should I say Zach Wilson, because now you end off your season against the UCF team where you throw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, helps your draft stock immensely. Versus if they were undefeated, played against a Power 5, didn't play well, Zach Wilson's draft stock probably drops a little bit. So it probably is a blessing in disguise that they didn't go undefeated, have a huge game against the UCF team that's on the downturn, and, hey, now if you're UCF, what are you going to do about Josh Heupel? Your boy Mackenzie Milton is transferred. Dylan Gabriel's still a talented guy, but where does this team go from here next year is where I'm looking at for UCF.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm looking at the same, and I think the first thing we need to address is defense. So, we'll definitely see how that works. They got plenty of offense, plenty of power, but just no defense ever since Hopel took over after Scott Frost left. So something to keep in mind going forward, but something you can always keep in mind is Podcast City Network and all the great shows it has to offer. What can you tell us about that, Craig?
Well, I was looking at more college football games for the coming week. I'm sorry, I was getting ready for the next games. I didn't know you were transitioning so quickly. Well, what I can tell you, though. Well, I mean, there's a couple of good games coming up, but what I can tell you.
We'll talk about those later.
We're on a limited time schedule, says the producer, Chris Carnage. But Final Score is a proud member of Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network has 19 independent podcast members across all genres of podcasting. You can find PCN on all major social media platforms, Facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @PodcastCityNet, YouTube, search the keyword Podcast City Network, and, of course, the website, podcastcity.net.
Yes, definitely so much awesomeness. Definitely make sure to go check it out. All the great offerings and even our newest shows that we've been able to offer, including Not a Hockey Market Podcast. Definitely check that out with George DeMoy. A lot of great stuff going on over there. And, of course, Double Dime, which is also going to be making its triumphant return here soon. And we'll have more info on Double Dime here a little bit later. But before we get to that, we got to talk about something else returning, and that is the official, that's right, in the books return of hockey. That's right, set for the 2021 season. They have finally ironed out every little detail, gotten it all figured out, and baby, we're going to have some hockey this year. But it is going to look a little different, so don't be surprised as to what you see, because we're looking at division realignments, playoff format changes, all kinds of crazy COVID-19 protocols, and let's not forget the schedule itself. Very special schedule this year just because of how they're going to battle COVID. So what are your thoughts on this, man?
I'm really interested by the new divisions. I mean, we've got 4 divisions. You've got the North, which basically is all the Canadian teams. Mm-hmm. And I think this is George DeMoy has kind of pointed this out on his podcast, Not a Hockey Market, that this is really an effort by the NHL to really push the Canadian teams and at least get some in the playoffs, which I think is a good initiative because that's where hockey is most popular, is, you know, at least in North America, is Canada. So you got to have some representation by the Canadian teams. Also, because of COVID protocols, Canada and the U.S. don't see eye to eye as far as how they handle the protocols. So it makes sense to have just all the Canadian teams playing against each other. Mm-hmm. I'm really intrigued to see how that's gonna make sense when there is some cross division games where teams from the North play teams from the East, but that's definitely going to be covered much more in depth by JDM on Not a Hockey Market Podcast. I'm pretty excited to see the Central Division having both the Red Wings, the Lightning, and the Florida Panthers all in the same division. Mm-hmm. For me, being from Michigan, that's awesome because hopefully we're going to see more Red Wings down in Florida. So hopefully I can go see them. That would be fantastic, even though they're not doing so hot right now. Oh, but yeah. I think this introduces some new great rivalries that we didn't see before, like Chicago and Detroit back in the same division. Great hockey rivalry. There's a lot of good ones, and it's really going to be an awesome setup. I got so excited that I busted out NHL on PS4 yesterday. I played a couple games, had some fun with that. But that's how excited I am about getting hockey back. Training camp starts on January 3rd, which is fantastic. And the teams that didn't qualify for the 2020 postseason can open a couple days earlier on December 31st.
Absolutely. It's definitely going to be crazy. Excuse me, that we're so close already. January 3rd, just literally right around the corner. We're going to be kicking it off and then dropping the pucks on January 13th. And it's going to be crazy, man. I'm just so happy we're going to have hockey back, and it's going to be an interesting season, definitely a lot different. But I'm interested to see how the East will look with my Philadelphia Flyers. You're talking about the Boston Bruins, Buffalo Sabres, the New Jersey Devils, the Islanders, and the Rangers, plus the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. Man, that's going to be a competitive division.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough division. I mean, with some of the teams that have been kind of on the upswing, and there's a lot, like, there can be arguments made that this should not be all one division. Like, it's too stacked. Like, you mentioned Pittsburgh, Washington, the Flyers, the Rangers, the Rangers kind of throwing all that money in free agency a couple years ago, the Islanders making a push. The Boston Bruins have still been one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference of the NHL. So it's going to be – that's really going to be an intriguing division to watch.
Mm-hmm.
The West even, you've got some good teams. The Avalanche, the Knights, the Sharks, the Blues, all those teams in the Western Division. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it.
Oh yeah, most definitely, and of course the playoffs are gonna, the regular season I should say, will wrap up May 8th, and then we will go into playoffs. So they're really trying to squeeze all this in as quickly as possible to try and mitigate any kind of COVID issues. Try to make sure that we can get through it quickly, easily, and without too many complications. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. They say there's a few other key dates to keep in mind. With the trade deadline is going to be on April 12th. The expansion draft for the Seattle Kraken won't take place until July 21st. And then, of course, the 2021 draft will be at the end of July on the 23rd and 24th. So really trying to get everything situated, everything figured out, because the NHL is eventually trying to get back to inevitably having the regular calendar year. So this is going to be a shortened season to kind of get to that end for the following season, hopefully be a full regular hockey season. So we'll definitely see how it plays out, but I'm just excited just to have hockey back, man. I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. A couple other changes real quick before we move on. Couple of changes you're going to see in the NHL this year. The NHL teams are going to be allowed to put advertisements on the helmets to try to make up some revenue.
Oh, yeah.
And also make good to pre-existing or naming rights sponsors. Only going to be for this season, and the league has to sign off on the ad choices. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be anything too crazy.
No Brazzers or anything?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. We're not going to have Brazzers Arena, down there in Miami, which could have been a possibility.
Oh my goodness.
That was, oh my God, that would have been great. So a couple other things. Prorated season also forces a few tweaks. If a rookie plays 10 games, that means his entry-level contract kicks in for that season. This season, that threshold will only be 7 games. And to alleviate any call-up issues, teams will be able to carry taxi squads of 4 to 6 players. They will receive full AHL salaries, therefore not count towards the salary cap. And those taxi squads would practice with the regular 23-player roster, potentially travel with the varsity club. It's an option but not required, and follow the same COVID protocols. So NHL is taking more of those precautions into consideration, which is great news. For NHL fans and for some of these AHL guys who, may not have gotten that call to the NHL roster in previous seasons because of just there weren't enough spots, and now they basically are being able to carry a little bit of a floating roster, if you will, as a backup.
Excuse me. Yeah, and they're definitely going to have to, especially if you want to try and make sure you're mitigating COVID, because I'm sure there's going to be players that are not only going to opt out, obviously, but we're going to end up with players that are probably going to have this at some point. It's going to happen. It's happened in every single sports league to some point. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach it. The NHL did very good with mitigating things while in the bubble when they were in Canada during last season, but obviously we're taking a step forward. There's new challenges, new risks. So we'll definitely see how it works out. And obviously, we'll definitely make sure to bring you the latest and greatest that we can with the NHL, and maybe even bring on George DeMoya to help fill that out a little bit, and bring on Not a Hockey Market podcast. So it's going to be some great stuff. Man, I can't wait. Flyers are winning it all, calling it now. So.
Well, if that's the case, the Red Wings are making the playoffs. Are we just throwing stuff out there?
We're just throwing stuff out there. We're being outlandish today.
Oh, Jesus.
But something that's really not that outlandish and equally amazing is the fact that you can join Podcast City Network if you have a new or trying to grow your podcast, because they offer an array of membership services, including logo design and branding, social media advertising, live podcast hosting, and so much more. You also gain access to our network of shows to help with cross-promotion, guests, and overall reach, while becoming of an ever-expanding network of people helping people, because, hey, that's what we're all about here in the PCN community. But the best part is, there's no membership fee. So what are you waiting for? Go to podcastcity.net/join now and join the fastest growing independent podcast network around, Podcast City Network. And man, if we're talking about joining podcasts and doing podcasts, that means it's now time for a little bit of meme madness, formerly social madness. But I mean, hey, it's been all memes lately, man. It's been wild.
Meme madness just kind of rolls off the tongue.
It does. It does, and I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be a very special one because I even have a surprise at the end that I don't even have on the outline. So it's gonna be fun. But with our first one, we're gonna hit it right off the top because I think we talked about this right off the top of the show. Is Alvin Kamara and all the craziness he did in fantasy. As we see here, this is just for the people that had to play against him. So we're sorry, our condolences. You probably lost fantasy, but hey, it happens. It happens. But it's absolutely crazy. But you know what else is crazy was the fact that Juju Smith-Schuster thought that he could just go dancing around on people's logo and not have an issue. And I think maybe it led to the Steelers losing. But, you just want to poke him with a stick. But come on, dance.
So real quick on that, like that was hilarious because Javon Kinlaw, if you follow us on social media, we posted that Javon Kinlaw actually went into Juju's DMs and Instagram and basically said that them boys smacked you out of that Corvette because that was the TikTok dance he was doing. I'm not familiar with that, but he was doing this dance on their logo. I sounded so old.
Yeah, you do. But it's
the kids in their TikTok trends and dances, and we're being joined by my husky.
Dances.
Yeah, we're being joined by my husky right here.
Aww.
But it came by because Javon Kinlaw got in his DMs, was like, hey, them boys smacked you out of that Corvette, and he's like, someone get this female out of my DMs, and it was like, and then he's like, come on, dance. It was funny. It was funny.
It was really good. That was hilarious. Oh, man. But our next one's pretty good. I think, if I'm not mistaken, where is it at? There it is. This was actually a Jimmy meme right here. When you get to your buddy's house, but he's watching Sports Center. Got to give him the old Kermit the Frog roll up that window. Oh, man.
Just roll up that window quick.
Just roll up that window. Oh, man. But
you don't need that kind of negativity in your life.
Yeah, you don't need that negativity in your life. Just move on. Watch Final Score. But this next one I actually found, and I literally busted out laughing, even though it hurts me deeply being an Eagles fan. It's an argument between Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson. Basically, with this whole fiasco going on, saying, hey, Carson, Jalen Hurts is going to be our starter now. Fine, just trade me. But we signed you to a 4-year, $120 million contract. Nobody's going to want to pay that much for you. I said I want an effing contract, or I want an effing trade. Oh, man.
There's the other one we posted earlier this week.
Good.
Where it was an Office reference where it's Jim Halpert pointing to the whiteboard of reasons I should be starting QB, and it's Carson Wentz.
Yeah,
and the next one is just a blank slate of nothing, and it's like, see?
I love that one. Man, I should have put that one on here too. That would have been good. But our next one, though, speaking of the Eagles, you did make that prediction that that the Eagles were going to get the upset win over the Arizona Cardinals, and obviously I scoffed hardly at this. And Jimmy was astonished and ended up making this meme, asking what the hell just happened. Oh, I love that one. That was so good. Oh my goodness. But Jimmy is a huge supporter of the show. We thank you so much for supporting the show, man. So much so that he went out and got himself some good stocking stuffers and got himself some net gators, Final Score, Podcast City Network, and Urban Nerd Weekly, as you see there on your screen. Definitely really appreciate the support for the show. And if you guys want any of your own merch, it's real easy. Podcastcity.net / what did I put? PCN shop. My gosh, if I can even get English today. English. I do speak it. Please don't send me on me. It's not too late. It's not too late to put it in order and get some late Christmas gifts. If you forgot to get Christmas gifts for somebody and you're feeling bad about it, just get them some PCN stuff and they'll all be good. Quick, it's easy, and it gets to you fast. So, hop on that bandwagon. But you know what's crazy is that you mentioned about Alvin Kamara and Ezekiel Elliott and things of that nature. Ezekiel Elliott touchdowns all season, 5. Alvin Kamara touchdowns between 4:30 and 7:30 on Christmas, 6. Absolutely crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. But you know what? We try to have a real good time here on the show because we believe that this is the way.
Final Score is the way. That's
right.
The way.
Final Score is the way. Oh my goodness.
Still haven't caught up on season 2 of that show yet.
Oh my! What are you doing right now? Oh my gosh, bro! Like
I don't watch TV. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. The only thing I really watch is sports, and I don't even really watch a whole lot of that.
Oh, I watch sports and sports and sports too, but guess what I make time for? The Mandalorian, because that ish is awesome.
I got other stuff to do, like expand our social media.
Which, if
and
you
do interviews.
If you see above us, we do have our Facebook followers and Twitter followers number. We do have some goals set there. So if you have someone you know needs sports, send them it on over.
We're up to 160 followers on Twitter, which is awesome. Thank you so much for that. We've gained a few followers over the last couple days. Tried to be active on Twitter and do some live tweeting of games and matchups. So we try to do that. So if you want some interesting comments and reactions, follow PCN FinalScore on Twitter.
Absolutely. Definitely make sure to check us out. And this next meme might be my favorite. And I'm so sorry, Jimmy, that we are putting this up, but we have to because it is too good. When the Raiders thought they got that W, Fitzmagic showed up. Oh, it's too good, man. It is too.
I had to double take. I had to double take looking at that. I was like, wait, what's wrong with the meme? Oh, I see it now. I didn't see that it was Leo's face.
Oh man, but hey man, we bring the meme madness, man, and when you got to make that option, red pill, blue pill, it doesn't matter, man. It's FinalScore. Makes you the one. Oh man, yeah, that one was just posted this morning by Jimmy. That was a good one. Oh,
That's
man.
a good one.
But I do have one more surprise, and it's something I sent to you just recently, and it's probably the most baller thing I've ever seen. If you want to get hyped before having to play a football game, find this coach because he's going to bring – oh, man. He's going to bring that heat. Took that door right out. Oh, man. You want to talk about getting a team hyped. I don't know anything more hyped than a coach putting on a helmet and literally running through a door and then leading his team out for that game.
We are joined live by my husky Winter.
Yes, being joined live by the husky. Oh my gosh, dude, too good. But yes, that is the end of meme madness, which means we got to talk a little bit about PodChaser. What can you tell us about that, Craig?
Absolutely. Well, PodChaser is your daily source for podcast discovery. Apple Podcasts is no longer the only credible place that you can rate and review podcasts. You can follow on PodChaser. You can follow creators. You can browse every podcast ever, and you can even rate and review individual episodes. We are also FinalScore is also on PodChaser. Just go to podchaser.com and search keyword FinalScore. That's one word, and you can give us a follow, give us a rating, and give us a review.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely check it out. A lot of great stuff going on over there at PodChaser. And like I said, you can find us there. But now that means it is time for the week ahead. And there's a lot of great things going on this week, honestly. And I'm pretty excited because first things first, New Year's Eve. We're finally getting the hell out of 2020. Hopefully. This ship better not keep rolling or anything. I swear, if it's like 11:60, I'm going to be so mad. But we also have the college football playoff semifinal games between our top four taking place on New Year's Day at 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. both on ESPN. So definitely make sure to check those out. It's going to be a lot of great fun, and hopefully Notre Dame can pull some kind of craziness out of their ass because I need this right now. I really do. Play like a champion.
I don't think it's going to happen, bud. I'm sorry.
Wow. We're not even there yet. At least give them a chance. Give them 2 series. We'll see how it goes. We'll probably play good for only those 2 series. But we also have a slew of college football games that are going to be happening. We, of course, have the we have the Cheez-It Bowl, Oklahoma State versus Miami. It's going to be probably a pretty interesting matchup. Hopefully Miami might be able to take that one. Of course, the Alamo Bowl between Texas and Colorado, an old Big 12 matchup right there. Of course, Wake Forest and Wisconsin in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. God, that's a name for a bowl. That's going to be taking place in Charlotte. Definitely going to be an interesting one. But what are some other games that you're looking at?
I'm looking at Oklahoma versus Florida in the Cotton Bowl Classic. That's going to be on December 30th at 8 p.m. on ESPN. Iowa, Missouri in the Music City Bowl is going to be quite the interesting matchup. Ball State and San Jose State in the Arizona Bowl. That's a MAC champion versus Mountain West champion. That's going to be – I think that's going to be a pretty good game. They kind of fast-forwarding a little bit. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is going to be Cincinnati and Georgia, so the best of 5 playing against Georgia. That'll be quite a unique matchup as well. Other matchups here in Florida, Orlando's hosting the VRBO Citrus Bowl it's going to be Auburn and Northwestern. Auburn having a down year, but they got a bowl invite anyway. Jacksonville is going to host the Taxley or Gator Bowl, NC State and Kentucky. That's on January 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa's going to host the Outback Bowl, Ole Miss in Indiana on January 2nd as well. Fiesta Bowl is January 2nd. Oregon and Iowa State, Oregon being the Pac-12 champion. And the Orange Bowl, 8 p.m. on January 2nd. Texas A&M and North Carolina, that's going to be down at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely going to be some great games. Definitely make sure to check back next week as we give you the latest and greatest from college football, including the results of the college football playoff semifinal games and bowl games. So definitely make sure to check out next week for episode 88 of Final Score, which will be next Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern on Facebook Live. And we'll also be welcoming S Money of Double Dime to the show as our very special live guest. So definitely make sure to check back. We're going to talk to him about some good lines for some of these games that we're going to have next week going into the final week of the NFL season and a lot of other great stuff. So definitely make sure to check back. But that means that's the end of our show. We want to wish everyone a very safe and a very happy new year. Please do not blow your hands off with any fireworks or you end up like JPP. So, you know how that works.
Yeah, I got all my fingers, so I'm good. But yeah, we hope everyone has a very safe and happy new year. Whatever you plan to do, please do not drink and drive. If you plan to go out somewhere in public, please be safe. Wear your mask. Utilize social distancing. But everybody, please, wear your Podcast City Network Net Gator while you're out. You can rep the network and rep the show as well. But everyone, have a very safe and happy new year, and we'll look forward to seeing you all next week. Talking some sports.
I'm gonna be that dad right now and be like, "We'll see you next year." Ha 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 ha. Oh, hey, that's what happens when you have 4 kids, man. It just happens. You gotta play like a champion every day as a dad. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week for episode 88. But until then, I'm Chris, and that's Craig, and you guys have just watched Final Score. Y'all have a great night.
Podcast City Network.